He is the president of the New York Young Republicans Club. His name is Gavin Wax. Welcome, Gavin, to the show today.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, so Gavin, you heard the comments. What do you think about New York joining Portland and Seattle to sue President Trump? And what were your thoughts on what the president and Joe Biden had to say about New York last night?
Well, New York doesn't have their priorities straight. The city government trying to sue the federal government for what's, clearly a fact, a statement of truth. It is a jurisdiction that allows anarchy. We've seen that the NYPD have had their hands strapped behind their backs, have not been able to effectively enforce the law. And the district attorneys here and the city council and the mayor are all encouraging lawlessness. So the federal government under AG Barr is absolutely correct with the designation of New York City, Seattle, and Portland. And instead of suing, they should try to get the streets under control, put the criminals behind bars, and return some sanity to this city. And as far as the comments made last night, President Donald Trump said it absolutely correct. I mean, the city is a ghost town, and it is falling from its grace. It is not the same city it was just a few months ago, and all the restrictions have completely destroyed and crippled the economy, especially the restaurant industry, which President Trump mentioned. And these are small businesses that don't have the cash on hand to comply with all these new onerous regulations that are not really backed by science. Plexiglass, like he mentioned, is not going to stop the coronavirus. So all you're doing is just adding more costs onto an already extremely expensive area to do business in. So it's not going to bode well for the city, and it's a sad state of affairs.
There was one point when the moderator pushed back on Joe Biden. I thought it was interesting because Joe Biden kept saying, well, you have to give these people the money to open up schools and restaurants and allow them to change out their air conditioning, allow them to put up the plexiglass. But that's not what is in Nancy Pelosi's bill, not at all. In fact, there's quite a bit of pork in there for illegal immigrants and everything else under the sun, but not for these businesses like that. Now, the moderator pushed back at one point and said to him, well, you're the leader of the Democrat Party. Why aren't you trying to sit down with Nancy Pelosi? What do you say to that?
It's a great point, and good on the debate moderator for pushing back, because President Trump has made it very clear that he wants direct assistance to families, to businesses who are suffering through this coronavirus, and more importantly, are suffering through the state government's response to it. And Pelosi is the one who is refusing to come to the table. She's the one who is holding up negotiations in order to push through her own pork barrel projects, her own spending, her own initiatives that have nothing to do with supporting American families and American businesses through this tough time. And Joe Biden should pick up the mantle of the leader of his own party. It's surprising that he actually is the leader of his own party. You don't really see him. He's not engaging in the negotiations. He's not trying to push forward anything. He's not acting in good faith. He's completely MIA, and all he knows how to do is blame Trump for everything, including the coronavirus, which is so ridiculous to blame the president for it, because, when Joe Biden was president with H1N1, they didn't do exactly a bang-up job either. So it's just the blame game, excuses, and never wanting to own up to his own party's negligence.
And Gavin, we have heard and we've seen pictures, but we know that you live there in New York. Is it true that people are leaving the city in droves?
Yes, I mean, I see with my own eyes. There's a U-Haul, I think, right in front of my building now. I'm looking at apartments as of today. And most of the units in my building are empty. The streets are a lot emptier. Some neighborhoods are doing better than others, sure, but if you go to Midtown, it's definitely a ghost town. All those office buildings are pretty much laying dormant, and all the businesses that were associated with commuters, associated with those businesses, are also laid dormant. So, I mean, it's very neighborhood specific, but there are swaths of the city that are far past their prime and do not have the level of foot traffic or even car traffic that they once had, and you can see it by all the business closures. So anyone trying to deny what's going on in New York, I mean, the numbers are out there, the stats are out there. I think last count was like 500,000 to 750,000 people that already left. This is a mass exodus, and you can see it with the USPS address change requests, and New York City is high on that list for address change requests because people are moving out, but they're going to deny the obvious because they know it's their policies which are to blame.